I'm so excited that you took the time to join us on the next episode of Beyond the Culture. This is the show where we embrace change and challenge cultural norms and ideals. I'm your host, Dr. David Walker. Now, let me begin by starting here. As you can see by my background, on this episode, I am not in Walker Media Group Studios recording this episode. I'm on the road. I'm in New York City. Many of you know that I'm from New York City, and I relocated to Orlando, Florida. And that's usually where we record our episodes, but I'm on the road because this past weekend, and as you're hearing this may be a day or two beyond Father's Day, but I spent Father's Day weekend in New York with my children and my grandchildren. Y'all know that I got David Walker III. He's my grandson. We call him D3. And then we have our newest granddaughter. She was born about 5 or 6 months ago. Her name is Navy Rose. So we had to be with family on this Father's Day. So I'm on the road. We're doing this episode remotely. But I wanted to have this guest on, and I said, no matter where I am in the country, I was going to make sure that I had this interview today with this young man who I have on the show. And I'm going to bring him on right now. And my guest is here. There he is, Rodney C. Burris. How you doing, Rodney?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you for being on the show today. I am truly excited to have you on. And before we get into our conversation today, yes, I want to give you your official introduction.
Yes, sir.
So on our show today, I have Mr. Rodney C. Burris. Rodney is an international speaker. He's a youth advocate and a professional development coach. He is one of the nation's top leaders in, listen to this, unlocking human potential and inspiring organizations to greatness. He was raised in Baltimore and in Jacksonville. Rodney is the son of a hardworking single mother. Because his father often battled substance abuse, the family spent some time in a homeless shelter and endured poverty and domestic abuse. Now, despite these challenges that he experienced and the adversity, Rodney still earned his bachelor's degree in psychology from Johns Hopkins University, and then he went on to earn a master's degree in nonprofit management from Capella University. He is the author of several books. Did I say several? Several books, but I'll just name a couple of them. Get Off the Cycle and Run, and I saw a lot of companion works along with that. And then he's the author of The 5 Fast Features for Fixing Firms, Effective Budget-Friendly Tools for Improving Your Organization. And I am super excited today to have on our show, Beyond the Culture, Mr. Rodney Burris. Rodney, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That was very warm, and I appreciate being here, sir.
Yeah, so I want to start here with this conversation today, because as I was doing my homework and going through your bio, doing my research,
yes, sir.
And I mentioned some of that in the introduction about your background, but where you are today, here's my first question. Where you are today, did you ever envision yourself being the person that you are today? If so, when did you see it, and what were your thoughts at the time?
Gotcha. So when I was a child, I had no idea I would be doing what I'm doing now. I love my life. I love what I do, and I love who I'm continuously becoming. I can't wait to talk about that. But I had no idea. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, which is how I got to Johns Hopkins. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had good grades, but I had a rough, Dr. D, this was my profile, man. So kind of like how you and I are side by side, if you had the same little guy, right? And you read down a list of his attributes, traits, qualities, or not so qualities, right? Not so good qualities. I sounded like two different people. On a roll, I scored really well on standardized tests and, opportunity. I mean, like all of these are old, the firstborn son and, standing out in church and all of this stuff. Other side, domestic violence in the home, drugs in the home, fighting all the time. I almost got expelled. I've been
Okay.
suspended a bunch of times. Um, just poverty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was all around us and in our minds. But I don't know, I didn't succumb to it, but I was aware of it, right? It was a part of my fiber for a long time.
Okay.
And so it took givers and mentors, you know, some pretty significant men of God in your life, right?
Yes.
And it was people like that, some of them that I never met before, that would say things to me like, boy, you know better. Now it's 6, 7, 8 of us, right?
Right.
Running
Mm-hmm.
around, and they would be like, hey, why you with them? What you what you doing?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I
Uh-huh.
also had the ones that didn't know me for a while that would pull me to the side and have these conversations. And I'm like, Dr. David, why are you still talking to me? Right. But they were formative, they were pivotal, they were crucial, they were vital. And each of those times, I'm grateful that the Lord allowed me to listen enough to move forward, listen enough to take the next step. And it just worked out in my life, man. But now I get to go around. I consider what I do in life, man, like being like like a bee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a bee in the meadow, in the pasture, it goes from this flower to this flower, from that flower to this flower. It drops off some pollen, it picks up some pollen.
Yeah.
And so what I've heard over time dealing with organizations and companies and nonprofits is leaders like yourself that share some of their experiences, some of their tips, their strategies, and I get to take those in. And then when I go to the next flower, I get to be like, well, you know what might help? I just had a conversation with Dr. David Walker.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds exactly like, and so they look at me like, oh my goodness, you bring so much, but I'm really a recipient
Okay.
of so much. And that's kind of like what I'm grateful for the most.
You said something real powerful about having, people to come into your life at certain seasons.
Oh man.
I had a conversation not too long ago with a good friend of mine. His name is Dr. Will Moreland.
Okay.
Yeah, and he talked about having what he called disruptors in his life.
Yes, sir. That's
Disruptors.
what I meant.
Yeah. People who disrupt the journey that you're on,
Yes.
but it's a negative journey. You're headed,
Right.
down the wrong path, and God sends people to disrupt the negative journey to help you to get on the right road.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what it sounded
Absolutely.
like you had in your life.
I had, and they come in and they do just that. And the crazy thing about disruptors, one of the things that I learned, so my wife and I, we have 5 children, right? And some of those experiences have been wonderful, and some of them have been challenging. The
Sure.
childbirth and the delivery and all of that. And I learned something about postpartum,
Okay.
and I learned something about doing an intervention for a person, right? Disrupting their path, right? That's what intervening is. And so they're going along a course and we're stepping between it, entering into it, right? And
Right.
so what I learned, Dr. David, was a woman that's experiencing a postpartum situation lines up very similar to a person that you're trying to love on and do this intervention for. The intervention for. So first of all, their condition, both the mom and this person, has been like this for so long. They don't know no other thing but being pregnant, being encumbered, having the burden of their lifestyle.
Right.
Because they've had it so long, they've adjusted what we eat, where we go, they've adjusted everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so this person also has done the same thing. Then they go through this process where, through some struggle and travail, I I get delivered, right? I get some sort of deliverance from it, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't roses. It wasn't pleasant. And so that was traumatic in and of itself. And in addition to that, my whole life, for as long as I can remember, right, short-term memory, whatever, has been this kind of way with these conditions, this burden.
Right.
And just like that, everything that I had within me is gone. Everything
Okay.
I identified with, my life was a pregnant person. My life was a substance abuse person. My life was whatever it is, and now it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you. It's new life now. And I've had deliverance and all of this. I hear the baby. I hear the opportunity. But I'm sad about this because a
Right.
part of it felt like a death. And I don't know how to recover. And so we have sympathy for the mamas of the world, right? We get
Right.
around and we send, but for the guys that go through this other experience is very similar. Get up, boy. Hey, pick yourself up. Would you want to go back? And it's not that I want to go back. I know that I needed to deliver this thing. I know I needed to break through, but I experienced the death, and I need you to sit with me or understand. And just kind of, if I may make a scripture reference,
Sure.
it says, when you see your brother overtaken,
In the fall.
you spiritual,
Yeah.
restore him in the spirit of meekness.
That's right.
Sit down and be there. Because we would do it for her because we get it. But for him, we tell him, suck it up. Disruptors are so invaluable, man. We need them in our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this question. Looking over your life, what would you change about your experiences?
Somebody asked me that recently. So here go one of my honeybee bee pollen moments, right?
Okay.
I was able to kind of sit through this because when they asked me, I had no idea, right? But it was a conversation and we talked through it. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm gonna be very transparent with you, Dr. David, because I trust you. I appreciate your spirit, your heart. I didn't love myself for a long time.
Okay.
I was extroverted. I was outgoing. I was fun to be around, but I was sad. I felt sad. I felt lonely around a group of people. I felt abandoned. And I needed for other people to consistently pour into me so I can get that validation. But it's like having a bucket with a hole in it. People can pour in, it'll never be enough. It'll never be enough. Because as soon as that flow stops, as soon as you stop telling me, pat me on my back, I'm gonna feel that emptiness again. And so what I've learned is the Lord created us to be able to operate fully in ourselves. And this is what I mean by this, right? When we eat food, we should be able to digest it. Not being able to digest the food you eat is a problem. It's a form of dis-ease, right? When we can't filter and pump our own blood through and we got to get a dialysis to take it out, clean it, and put it back in, it comes in, but it drains us in the process, right? It drains you in the process. We should be able to connect to him, to life, and be our own source of experience and happiness, joy, fulfillment. And when we can't, when I can't be happy, it's okay for you to be my leader, Dr. David. It's okay for you to be my father in the spirit. It's okay for you to be my pastor, my big bro. But if I can't function, if I can't make it at all, that's a dialysis.
Right.
And you can keep me alive on the machine, but that's not how we were created. That wasn't the design.
That's right.
And so if I could do it all over again, I would go back and it wouldn't be one thing I would change. It would be a series of conversations to encourage me to sit down and get connected so you can be whole. And I didn't know that for so long, man. That was a big part of my journey.
And I clearly understand that. And it's so important that we reflect back on how your life journey is and what would you do, to make change. Oftentimes people say, if I had to do life all over again, I would do things different.
Right.
But I always say that's really not an accurate statement. And here's the best way to put it. If I had to do life all over again with what I know now, I would do things different. Because if you didn't get the experiences, you would do things the same way. It's the experiences that cause you to change, right?
Be able to get that learn. Hopefully. But some of us, right? Let me point to myself for a second. Some of us walk around that goddamn mountain 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Over and over and over again, circling the same mountain, finding out. And that was the premise behind the book. So to get off the cycle and run is an analogy about repeating that. Why am I here? Why everybody I date treat me like this? Why every job I go to, I find 2 or 3 people that have this sort of interaction? Why every time I turn around, I get this idea and it gets stolen or taken from me? And when it's always that person being bad, that person being mean, that person taking something from me, we have an excuse, right? Not to realize our own agency, the way we are contributing, the way we are led astray by our own lust, so to speak, right? That we find ourselves that, but you hurt me.
Mm,
You did that to me.
that's right.
And so no, I'm right. But really, man, really kind of just slowing down and realizing I keep doing the pre stuff. That's my friend of mine, man. He got his car stolen.
Okay.
Daddy's an old bishop down in Carolina. And he got his car stolen. We was up here in Baltimore in college, well, after college, and he called his dad. He's like, Dad, man, they stole my car. He had like an 89, it was old, like an 89 Benz or something like that. Oh, Daddy let him tinker on it, play with it. Dad, they stole your car, man. Dad said, what happened? He was like, yeah, man, it was snowing up here. So I went outside, I warmed up the vehicle, went to housing. He's like, oh, son, you gave the car away. He's like, what you talking about? He was like, you warmed it up for them? Left the keys in there, right? He's like, you wanted that car to go away. They did what you asked.
Exactly.
The simple wisdom in that, but that happens in all of our lives. Why he keep hurting me? Why I get the women that's verbally abusive to me? What's the pre stuff? How am I warming up and prepping it and setting it up? And then they come take it, and I'm like, how could you?
Mm,
How could I? But if I don't ever recognize, I'm going through those cycles, man. It's literally what you just said, Dr. David. If I don't take the wisdom from those experiences, I ain't gonna do nothing differently.
different.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Um, so you've been through your experiences, and so you've taken your experiences in life, and now you try to help other people.
Yes, sir.
And as I introduced you, I said that you unlock
Yeah, man.
the potential
Yeah, man.
that people have. Watch this already. When you unlock something and something comes out, that means it's already there.
It's already there.
And you unlock that. So talk about how you help
sir.
individuals as well as organizations.
Yes, sir. So there's a scripture that says we have this treasure hidden in earthen vessels.
Vessels. Yeah.
So now the beautiful thing I appreciate about being able to talk with you is that when I'm in corporate this place or this company, I can't always do my scripture reference, but I still do it. I have to just use synonyms, right? But I'm
Right.
talking principles.
Right.
Verses, right? Okay. So one of them, because God created all of this, right? So all we got to do is look around, the heavens declare, right? All we got to do is see. So this was shown to all of us, but it stuck with me and I talk about it everywhere. Everything, Dr. David, that mighty. I was down in Charlotte and I had just this past weekend and I had everybody in the room. I don't want to get too far to the screen, but I had them stretch their hands out. I was like, everybody hold your hand. So everybody got their hands out, right? Everybody. It's like, hold them out. I said, you are the mighty oak tree. Big, tall, branches, and everything that mighty oak tree is right now was inside of that little old acorn.
That's right.
It was always there. Now, what that acorn did, knowing who God created it to be, it got around some soul, it got around some good folks, conversation. It was receptive to the sunlight, some positivity, some folks speaking life into your situation. The guys watered and nurtured and was able to bring out what was there. Sometimes those seeds fall to the ground and die, right? The acorn may not have a lot of choice in that. We do. When we get those disruptors, do we delete, block,
Right.
ain't picking up the phone? Do we do that? We go to the service, right? We sit right there. God gave Pastor Walker a whole message for you, like for that, and you know it, and you felt it, and you get a little offended, like who told him my business? Exactly. And we block off, right? Well, that because he just don't know the rest of it, and so we choose to not do what the acorn does naturally, which is let me put myself in a situation to get rooted, to get grounded, to get nurtured, so that God brings the increase, right? But it's already there. And so one of the things that I learned, man. I was up. I have this, like, I don't want to sound all extra deep, man. I grew up with a lot of deep folks in
Okay.
a way that caused distance between regular people, right? And
Right.
so I knew what y'all, I know what we talking about, but we over here preaching hard about salvation to the same 30 of us that's been saved for the past 30 years. Why we preaching
Exactly.
so hard to us about, like, and then if you're a sinner, won't you come? Nobody self-identifies on the
Right.
corner.
Right.
Nobody wakes up like, you know what? I'm a sinner and I would love. And so if we don't learn how to do what Jesus did for real, and go out there and sit down
Hmm.
and be regular so that we can connect, so that people can see and at least see the light and feeling. If we don't do that, we're going to continue just to lose. And so anyway, what I was sharing with them was, I mean, what happened to me and what I was sharing with them, I woke up and I have this like prayer time. And
Okay.
that sounds so deep, get up in the morning have prayer time, but I do. I do.
That's good. No, that's good.
Right. But it just says sometimes it could just sound like, oh, he
Deep.
done made it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's still me, right? But so I was up and I do this thing where I actually jot my prayers down with my left hand.
Okay.
So yes, I talk them and yes, I listen, but I write what I believe God is putting in my heart back. I get it out and I put it down, but I do it with my left hand. I'm not left-handed because I heard this wise guy, another honeybee moment.
Okay.
He said, when you write with your non-dominant hand, every stroke becomes intentional.
Mm.
Right. And so I want to mean this. I believe what you're giving me, what you're dropping in my heart. I believe what Dr. David shared with me. I believe these opportunities. So I want to talk about them with intention.
Okay.
So that's a way of the many ways to do things. Right. So I was up, and one of my statements, Dr. David, is talking about becoming who God desires me to be, becoming. And I had this weird little vision of somebody making a motion of saying, come here. Do it for the people. Dr. David, show them the gesture of come here. Do the gesture. But do the gesture for the people.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Right. So that's the gesture. And then I did it. I was like, well, do the gesture for welcome.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, welcome.
Right.
Okay. So the root word in both of those phrases is the word to come, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm becoming, I'm trying to exist, but where am I already? I'm already there. The words that we use already says that we're becoming.
Mm.
It's here. It's right here. Now, and so it takes something, right? We got to tap into it. We got to
Right.
be intentional. We're in process with it, but it's not so far away. The word is nigh thee. Right now are we the sons of God. Speak those things that are not as though they
All right.
are. It's
Sure.
all through the Bible.
Sure.
It's all through everywhere. So that's what I mean about unlocking human potential. Now, in those audiences, in those settings, I gotta use a lot more oak tree,
Sure.
right? I got a lot more ocean analogies and waves, but he created that stuff. That's fine. I can
Right.
use the stuff he made.
Sure.
You know, I'm fine with that. But that is what I do to allow people to tap into who God, we all are God's children. It's just some of us don't know it.
That's right.
Bringing that to light, helping us connect with that knowledge is what I do. And I'm grateful for the opportunity.
And you spoke of scripture. Let me speak of scripture.
Yes.
He that wins souls is wise. And winning is not always just specific to salvation. It could be to better living, better health. How do I win you? I have to appeal to you where you are. And if my language is, let's say, it could be right, but if it's deflective
Yes.
or I'm not hearing you, then
Yeah,
I
man.
don't grow. I don't,
Right. I can't use it.
I can't use it. So there are times the scripture says, when you win, that's when you're wise.
That's
If
when
you
I
didn't
love that
win,
scripture.
you're not wise.
I love that scripture. You know, it reminds me, man. I don't know if some of your guests ever had the opportunity to run all over the world. For those of you that have, y'all know about this. You go to different countries around the world, their outlets, their electrical outlets are shaped differently than our little two prongs, right?
Okay, sure.
They got a different formation. The power is there, but I go over there with let me use this real quick. I go over there with my little American two-pronger,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work. It
Doesn't
doesn't
work.
fit in. And then I don't have access to the connection, to the power that can give me whatever I need, right? And so the wisdom and what I believe you're talking about is using a right adapter. I got the same power.
Right.
You're the same person.
Right.
How do I adapt this so that you, because you're 3 years old, you 16 years old, you grew up over here, you grew up over there. So what words or whatever I need so that what was it? What did Paul say? I am all things to
To
all
all
people so that I
people.
can by every means win some.
Right.
By every means, I still ain't gonna win all of y'all. I know that. I know that coming in, but I'm gonna do my best. And so my book does a whole bicycle analogy.
Right.
It says if you can understand how a bike works, you can understand how life works. My whole goal is to add to what you've done, Brother Donnie McClurkin, Bishop, everybody that's doing what they're doing. I want to join in that body so that the ones that may or may not fall off, because y'all gonna get to 80, y'all gonna get 80, 90 of them, right? But the ones that trickle off, that may be just right for a little bike analogy, I want to scoop them for us, for the kingdom, man. That's what I do.
The sermon title this Sunday is "What Adapter Are You Using?"
Yeah, man. What adapter we using?
What adapter you using?
Right? We what's the word? What is it? Exegesis?
Exegete, yeah,
Right.
exegesis.
Some we do that for the people. We take them in Latin, and some of them folks, I had there was a bishop. I don't want to call him a bishop. I don't know his title.
Right.
His presence felt like a bishop to me.
Okay. All right.
I was looking at him on YouTube. He was in Africa.
Mm.
And he said, what happened when we started sending our sons? He was like, we sent some of you to Cambridge, to Oxford. We sent you to Harvard. And you come back and you got your letters. And you got our aunties and grandmas sitting here waiting for you now to come back and give us the word. And you can't because you don't see a piano. He was like, but when before you left, did you ever see a piano? And then he was like, you're using all of these words. And they said, baby, what you talking about?
Mm.
And so like, if I get all of this, man, and I'm sounding like some tinkling brass, some cymbals.
Right.
Man, that's why, the people don't know this. You and I met over an app, like one of these brand new fangled dangled apps that's out, and y'all know this because y'all been following Dr. David for a while. Your spirit was who you were, right?
Mm.
You were approachable, you were regular. One of the first things I ever heard you talk about was your family and your sons and that legacy and just that whole thing, man. Like you sat down with us.
Yeah.
And that made me like really tap into, because people talk on there all the time, right? People talk on there.
Sure.
But when you started sharing of your real, old, authentic, regular self,
Yeah.
we was able to connect, and I
Sure.
think you do that with everybody. That's probably why you do what you do in the world. And it was apparent to me. And I think that if we can get in that, like just kind of take on that mantle, do more of that, then we probably win a lot more souls, man.
Absolutely. And I didn't say this at the beginning. A part of me being here in Orlando, here in New York. As I shared with you, I was supposed to go back to Orlando on Sunday night, right after Father's Day.
Right.
Until they told me that my grandson, David Walker III, we call him D3. They told me that he was graduating from pre-K, going into kindergarten, and he was having a moving up ceremony this morning here in New York. So and he wanted Pop to be at the ceremony.
Right.
And so I changed my plans.
Yes, sir, man. But that's what it's all about, right?
That's what it's all about. It's all about family.
Yeah, man.
And now that I said that, when I wanted you to have you on the show today, because we were talking back and forth, I was trying to see when you were available.
Right.
Talking about some dates. And I remember saying, well, when I have this show, it's going to end up coming out
right around Father's Day.
Right around Father's Day, a couple days after when we upload it. So you're probably hearing at least 1 or 2 days after Father's Day. But I said, I want to have Rodney on. Then I asked myself, I wonder if he's a father, because if I'm going to have somebody on, I may bring a Father's Day. I wonder if he's a father. So you've already said it a little earlier, but I want to repeat it. And so when I asked you, I said, Rodney, are you a dad? And you told me what?
My wife got a lot of kids, brother. My wife got a lot of kids.
You named the number. You said
we got 5 kids. All of them, listen, all of them hers. I don't know where them jokers come from. No, that's I say that everywhere. She always look at me like
5 kids. So I say you the right one to have on this episode surrounding Father's Day. So listen, talk to us about being a dad. Of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a starting basketball.
That's right. That's right.
And what does it mean to you? Just talk about that for a little bit.
And they introduced me to parts of me that I didn't know.
Okay.
That God used my children to grow me up.
Okay.
God used my children to teach me about Him. I remember, I'm gonna tell you guys the ages and all that kind of stuff in a second, but I just want to share this. I remember, especially when they were smaller. My oldest kids are 16, so I got almost, okay, let me do the ages. Aaliyah and Anthony are 16. Those are twins.
Okay.
Right? Aaliyah and Anthony are 16-year-old high school students. One's a track star girl. My daughter, she's a culinary genius. She's been cooking Thanksgiving dinner for the past 5 years by herself.
Wow.
The bird, the desserts, everything. Then after the twins, my son, Micah, he's 14. He's into the combat sports, Dr. David. So he likes boxing and wrestling and taekwondo, like high school wrestling, like that sort of stuff. So he does that. Jada's 12. She's about to be 13. So that's the 4th almost teenager I have. She's a dancer. Her personality is this big. She just is all over the place everywhere. And then my little youngest boy, Judah, who embodies the spirit of a lion. I don't know why we named him that. That boy don't got no fear. Okay. He halfway stubborn. He think he right all the time. He like to be strong anyway. We know words, people. We better watch what we say. Exactly. We call this boy Judah, and he is who he is, right? And so anyway, he's 7 years old. Okay. Well, when my teenagers were smaller, because they were very close in age, and I would have, you should have done this and such. And I remember hearing, don't get on them so hard. I just asked you to do. Did you do it? Did you follow through? You need the hammer to come down on you too?
Right.
It taught me mercy. It taught me grace. It taught me patience. It taught me application. How would I want to receive this lesson if it were me? Because in reality, it is me every day, whether we choose to ignore or not, right?
Right.
And so not wanting to ignore, but wanting to be open and receptive. How do I get this lesson? And how do I, model that for my children? And so I had a friend of mine, he's not a parent still.
Okay.
And I used to tell him, I was like, man, I want to be real mindful about how I approach as the dad, because I know that I don't always do what God directs me to do, man.
Sure.
And he was like, they still need to learn. And I was like, I hear you, but I need you to understand. Like, if he was a father, maybe he could have understood it differently, right? Sometimes it takes being in that position to get it. I don't want to come down so hard on my children. One, because I love them, I like them, I want them to do well, I want them to get the lesson. But then two, if it was me, I'm gonna ask for all kind of, that parable. What Jesus tell the parable about the man that owed the ruler money? Yeah. They asked for all that mercy, right? All that grace, and then
somebody else. Up. Yeah.
I don't. And then he got it even worse for doing that. The ruler heard about it. Like, put him in the chains.
Right.
I don't need that. Right. I want to take the wisdom of people like yourself that's been put into our lives to teach us, right? To give us the word, so that we don't have to go through the hardships of it. We can get the lesson. I want to get the lesson, man.
Right.
That has informed my fatherhood and my approach over the past 16 years.
I love what you said about getting the lesson.
Yeah, man.
Life is really, Well, this is my show, so I can talk about my book, right?
Share with us. We need the life. We need the life that comes from it.
You know, part of the book I talk about, it's about being a champion and being a winner. And there's always going to be wins in life, but I try to say that we don't have a life full of wins and losses. We really have a life full of wins and learns.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's profound.
If something doesn't happen favorable to you, don't see it as a loss. See it as a learn.
Oh.
And what can you do to move that learn into the win column?
Oh, wow.
You know, go back, look at it, reflect on it, see whatever, you know, mistakes you may have made.
Yeah.
But never see life as a loss. Anything that happens, we would say negatively or not in our favor. Right. Don't see it as a loss. See it as a learn. What did I learn from this? And as a father,
yeah, man.
I'm a two-time dad.
Yeah.
Heavyweight champion.
There we go. Two-time
champion. My children in their mid-30s. Thank you. And then I got 2 grandbabies. And I thank God for my son David Jr. because he just said this to me yesterday. He said, Dad, you know, when I'm raising D3, a lot of times some of the very things that you said to me come back to my mind. I find myself telling that to him.
Wow.
And I said, I was impressed.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. And if I could just share this part about, you know, fatherhood, because it's so important.
Yeah.
You know, it's so important. You know, when you are a mother, some people wonder why Mother's Day is such a big celebration. You know, you don't have to, everybody's planning for Mother's Day, but when it comes to Father's Day,
you might get a little something. You might get something, maybe something.
And I said to somebody, I said, because by nature, the connection of a mother to her children by nature is automatic.
That's right.
It's automatic. For 9 months, she has to bear that child. So her connection is automatic.
That's right.
But a dad's connection isn't.
No, it's not automatic.
It's not automatic. That joker's got to want to be involved, want to be connected, want to be around. Because if you don't want to be around, it's so easy not to. Pew! I'm gone. And don't give him what he may consider a good reason not to be around, because guess what? He gonna take it.
He's gonna take that reason.
Exactly. And you have to be the kind of person who wants to be around, who wants to be there, who wants to be connected, because your position is extremely, extremely powerful. When you are an absent father, watch the impact it will have on your children.
Oh, man. You said 2, 3, 4 books right there. You said 2, 3, 4 books. First of all, the mother's connection is much more
automatic.
It's automatic. It's right there. That father's, it's not. He has to want to be there. That's a whole lesson. Another whole lesson that you gave him in 2 or 3 sentences was, don't give him, and I love how you inserted this, what he might consider to be a good reason, right? And that takes knowing, and I tell my daughters this, these guys going to tell you, people will tell you who they are. Just give them a moment.
Give them a moment.
Right? Give them a moment. Listen how you talk to the lunch lady. Listen how you respond to the teacher when they collect the homework, right? Listen to when the person bump into them in the hallway. That's who they are, right? They telling you who they are. And so whatever the good reason may be for that guy, that boy, whomever, it may not be a good reason at all. But how Dr. David just said it, a good reason in his little mind.
In his mind.
In his mind. And you want to be mindful, not that you can control somebody's actions, but you don't want to give space to the devil. Right? You don't even want to, don't even give the appearance of. So if this guy already has a type of mentality that you can tell that he's thinking the way you thinking in life, about life, then if you choose to have a child with this person, the same off thinking that he had in this other stuff, he's going to approach that to his reasons to stay or to go. Mm-hmm. What he may feel is a good reason. I love that. Was a whole book. That was a whole book. And then lastly, that whole piece about the character. Like you have to be the type of person. That's right. And that goes into that self-work, man. That goes into that spending time, right? Not my mama, not my father, but it's me, or
Me, oh
right?
Lord.
It's
That's right.
me.
That's
It's
right.
me. Anyway, that's 3 more books. So you guys just keep an eye out. Those are coming from the Walker Media Group. They're going to be publishing.
Exactly.
That is awesome, man.
Exactly. Uh, Listen, Rodney, we have had an outstanding time having this conversation. As we bring it to a close, there's two things that I want to do.
Yes, sir.
One, I want you to give us your social media contact.
Absolutely.
And then after you do that, I want you to close us out with an inspirational message to this audience.
Yes, sir. Well, my social media can be found everywhere. And it's simply my name, at RodneyCBurris.com, info at you name it. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, man, I was actually, Israel and Newbury had a song that came out many years ago, a album project. And in the beginning of the second CD, I listened to this thing, it wore the grooves out of the CD, right? I listened to it so much. In the beginning of the second disc, or towards the end, I don't forget, either the end of the first one or the beginning of the second one, the man of God gets up and he says, opportunities of a lifetime must be seized within a lifetime of that opportunity. Mm-hmm. That's so profound, right? God opens a door, opens a window, but we gotta move. There's a scripture, man, that talks about the angel troubling the waters. You gotta get in when it's troubled.
That's right.
You gotta get in when it's troubled. And so just being receptive to when the opportunities of a lifetime are put in front of us, to walk in it in the lifetime of that opportunity. And that's what I endeavor to do. That's what I teach my children. It's a big part of my fatherhood. Thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate being here with you, man.
Well, Rodney, I am just overjoyed that you took the time to come on our show today. You've just added value, inspiration. You motivated, encouraged us. And, as I say to all my guests, you have gone beyond the culture, and I thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, man. You take care.
You have a good one.
Now, if you want to continue to hear inspiring interviews like the one you heard today, I want you to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Also, rate the show and please leave a comment. I would also love it if you would share this podcast with your friends to let them know that we're on. Finally, please go to our website at www.beyondtheculturepodcast.com, or you can email me at beyondtheculturepodcast@gmail.com. On the website, you can subscribe to the show and connect with me by leaving your email address. I'd love to hear from you. This is your host, Dr. David Walker, and we'll talk again on Beyond the Culture. Take care.